you need an expensive, fancy coffee machine to do great latte art? Well, yes and no. I was super lucky recently that I got to try the Rancilio Speciality. It's a $12,000 espresso machine, and I was expecting to be able to do some great latte art, like maybe the best I've ever done. After all, it's a machine built for baristas by baristas, and it's top of its class. But no, I couldn't get anything better than this simple heart after multiple attempts. Why? Because it had so much power that I was completely unable to control it, and I ended up with really frothy milk. Those of you who've been watching my videos for a while know that for the longest time I was using an old Rancilio Silvia V2, a 14-year-old machine before I got my recent upgrade. But for weeks after I got my machine, I was struggling to get as good milk on this $2,000 dual boiler machine as I was on my ancient single boiler. That's because it's all about getting used to your machine. So how do you get the most out of the gear you have? The first big tip is to start getting your air in early so it can be incorporated properly. This makes total sense when you think about the composition of milk, and mostly about the proteins, which look like little stringy things. When you heat these protein stringy things, they curl up, and if there are air bubbles there, they'll curl around them, locking them in. This is why it can be so difficult to get rid of those big bubbles that you pull in accidentally during the beginning of the steaming phase, because they're locked up by proteins. If you wait too long to inject air, then the bubbles won't get locked in, and they will separate much more quickly. So if you want to get silky smooth milk for latte art, inject that air early. Next, practice steaming with just water so you can see how much power comes out and where it gets directed so you can find the right spot. With a single hole steam tip, your power is going to go straight down, so you need to find a location that's going to get you that roll faster. I've talked about this on the channel before. A roll is where you get the best movement between the top and bottom layers of milk so you can evenly incorporate that milk and get a silky smooth texture. With the Speciality machine, I didn't know how to control that power, and so the milk flew up the sides of the milk jug, causing way too much air to be inserted. If I had more time with it, I could have figured out how much power was coming out and where to place the steam one to get the best possible roll. If your machine has a little bit more power than you can handle, you might want to try using a little bit more milk. That's going to stop the power from blowing it up the sides of the jug and injecting too much air. And if you have less power, try less milk. Don't go trying to figure out a place to put your valve open halfway. Always open your steam valve to the full power. That's how you're going to get the best consistency. Depending on what cup you're using, you can try weighing the milk before you start steaming. You should be doing this if you want to get really good quality latte art, because it will make all of those variables more consistent. Usually I use my Imagine glasses, which are 250 mils for a stronger tasting latte, and my not neutral cups if I'm doing really big latte art designs, which is around 350 mil. I found that for the bigger not neutral cup, 240 milliliters of milk in the jug is totally fine, because by the time you've aerated it, it's going to increase in volume by about 15 or 20%. Don't forget to use a little bit more milk than you need. I know it sucks to waste it, but you don't want to run out of milk at the last point and end up pulling some slug trail through your beautiful design. Next up, figure out what you did when you got the best possible steam power out of your machine. For example, as I mentioned in my Pro X review, I found that I got the best possible steam when it had just come off the boil. So I would get rid of some of the water by using the hot tap and then let it come up to steam temperature again, and as soon as it was ready, that's when I started to use the steam. On my previous Silvia, I had a PID, and I noticed that the steam would cut off at around 135 degrees C every time. So I made sure to start before that so that there would be continuous steam power throughout and the boiler wouldn't cut off. If you have a single boiler espresso machine, check out the video I made about how to get the most out of a single boiler. You should also be using a bigger latte art jug than you need. I almost always use my 600ml or 20-ounce jug. Small jugs are paradoxically harder to control, so I only really use them for tiny drinks where I don't want to waste a lot of milk, and I don't expect to get good latte art out of them. Consistency is the name of the game in latte art, so you want to get really good milk foam first, and then you can try experimenting with smaller jugs. I hope you found this video helpful, and if you did, give it a thumbs up for the YouTube algorithms. Now, if you want to start doing more advanced latte art designs, click on my video here to learn how to do that, no matter what machine you have. As always, thank you so much for watching this video, you wonderfully overcaffeinated people, and I will see you on the next one.